And my question is actually has two sides. The first one is, why do human beings actually sometimes hate themselves? What is the reason for that? And then how do we actually stop hating and really keep moving forward toward the direction that we are bringing our calling, our voice in the world, which is meant exactly for us? That's kind of calling.
Wow. So part one, self-hatred. I think self-hatred is internalized from family of origin, of course. And I think also from the culture. I think if we value ourselves too much, we're not as easy to control in the economic world because we don't need so much from the economic world anymore. We're more self-gratified. And also in the spiritual world, where the patriarchal traditions emphasize the dissolution of the ego as a step towards greater awakening. So, how confusing is this? You go into the psychotherapist's office and you work on building a healthy sense of self so that you can live the life that you're born to live. You walk out into the culture, and in various ways, the culture is designed to keep you down, to keep you shriveled up and smaller. Your family of origin may be communicating all kinds of abusive or neglectful messaging, or direct messaging, like when you are too full of yourself, you're too big for your britches. There were all kinds of sayings that were designed, and they may have had a good intention, so we didn't draw too much negative attention to ourselves in the world, but they also had the effect of confusing us so that we're not sure if we're supposed to feel good about ourselves, if it's unhealthily egoic to feel good about ourselves. And then this bullshit spiritual world shows up and says you have to dissolve the ego in order to become an enlightened being. So
yes, dissolve the ego.
We're all mixed up. We're all just mixed up. And I think there is a place for the healthy self-concept. My work in my life was to build my healthy self-concept so I could accomplish things. And by accomplishing them, I proved to myself that I have ability. Affirmations are helpful, but I think if they're not coupled with actual self-restoring action, they don't mean very much. So, every time I pushed myself to the next level of manifestation in my life, I affirmed my value. I think doing the healing work and the release work, and particularly the anger expression work, is a way of restoring your sense of self, because when you grant yourself permission to own that which you are angry about, and through the body express and release it, you are sending a message, I think, to your inner child or to your core self, that you have intrinsic value, that you matter enough to be able to stand down aggression. You matter enough to find your voice. In bioenergetics, Lowen talked a lot about self-possession, being healthily boundary, knowing where you end and the other beginning, being energized, being alive, and essentially being spirited through the body, which I think is fundamentally the experience of knowing the self as a strong and sturdy and healthily egoic organism. And recognizing that we're up against it culturally, because for all the reasons I described. So for me, the release work was important. Standing my ground relationally was important. Letting my parents know how I felt about their behavior was important. Doing work in the world to prove to myself that I had worth and that I had impact, efficacy was important. And I think at this stage of human development, this building of the healthy ego and releasing of the old material is sacred purpose for most of us right now. This is where we are. And it's almost very difficult to get to the calling for the world piece until you've done some of that work, because there's so much self-hatred and so much in the way of diminished energy in the way of it. So standing your ground, finding your voice, doing your thing in the world continues to develop and build you to the stage where you feel like you can do anything.